Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Would like to welcome everybody to the William Fitzgerald Tennis Center here in beautiful Rock Creek Park. My name is Brett Haber from Tennis Channel. I am a tennis broadcaster, but I'm also a Washingtonian. This is my hometown tournament, which makes this day extremely special for me because this tournament has really unmatched local heritage, and the fact that it is passing hands to a local person is very pleasing to all of us who consider ourselves Washingtonians. That wasn't an applause line, but you should by all means consider it one. Just by way of a little bit of history, for those of you who aren't particularly tennis fans may not know that this is one of the heritage tennis tournaments, not only in America, but in the world. When the Open era began in 1968, this was the second Open tennis tournament. There was the US Open, and then what is now the Citi Open. And it was founded here in the nation's capital by Donald Dell with the assistance of the great Arthur Ashe. And when Donald enlisted Arthur's assistance in putting this tournament here, Arthur, and Donald tells this story better than most, Arthur was willing to help, but he had one condition for Donald, and that was that the tournament be placed in a part of the city that was integrated and where Arthur knew that he would see black faces on the tennis court. And when they found this location in a neighborhood that met those necessities, the tournament came, Arthur played, supported it, and 50 years later, it remains one of the most important tennis tournaments on this planet, and I think it's something that Washington can be very proud of. Those of us at Tennis Channel are very proud to have an affiliation with the Citi Open as the exclusive broadcast and multimedia rights holder for the tournament, and I know Mark's going to talk about an expansion of our role into the next 5 years, but I'll leave that for Mark. And so we have many distinguished guests assembled here, and I'll start by introducing the one who is taking over. Most of you in this city who are sports fans and civic-minded and business people know Mark. He is not only an entrepreneur of exceptional international note, a civic leader, a charitable individual, owner of the six-time World Team Tennis Champion Washington Castles, and now following in the footsteps of so many business leaders who have used sports as a vehicle in their hometown to improve cultural life and financial opportunity and opportunity in general. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend Mark Ein.
Thank you, Brett, and thank you all for coming out here today. We're just really deeply grateful and humbled by today and all of you being here. First, I would like to recognize some special guests who are with us today. First of all, the great leader of our city, who has already in her first term done so much to make our city better, and she's just getting started on her second term, Mayor Muriel Bowser. And this used to be your ward before you became mayor. And the current council member from Ward 4, who's also been a great friend to the tournament and made a real big impact in the city, Brandon Todd. Rebecca Crouch-Pelham of the WTEF. Francis Tiafoe and Denis Kudla, professional tennis players who came to this event when they were young kids as fans. Then they got their first breaks in this tournament. And today they're lighting the world on fire as Washington area tennis products, and two guys that we're exceptionally proud of not just what they're doing on the court, but also how they handle themselves and give back off the court. So let's hear it for Francis and Denis. And of course, all of our friend Brett Haber, who we're also super proud of, who got his start here in local news and is now an international tennis personality on the Tennis Channel. Thank you, Brett, for being here. In the crowd, there's also a few people that I want to recognize. First of all, from Events DC, the chair, Max Brown, and the CEO, Greg Odell. Thank you guys for your support of everything you do. And then my team, first of all, and our new team, the tournament director of the Citi Open, Keely O'Brien, who is a superstar, and she moved into our office last week, and we're incredibly thrilled to work together. Keely, thank you. And my team in the office, Kevin Wynn and Allie and everyone, Sierra Mary, everyone on our team, we're really excited about putting our efforts towards this. Before I get started, there's one person in particular I want to recognize who is the founder of the tournament. Brett recognized him with his co-founder, John Harris. But Donald Dell, this is his vision. He is the person who created this. It was him who actually owned the tournament and gave it to the WTF 50 years ago. And he has led this tournament to this incredible place through so much over so many years. And there is no single person who is more responsible for this event and all the people it's touched over 50 years than Donald Dell. Let's give Donald a huge round of applause. Thank you, Donald. So I have to admit, this is a bit of a humbling moment. I grew up not far from here on the mean streets of Chevy Chase, Maryland. And I actually was a ball kid at this tournament, and that was the highlight of my life, ball kidding for Arthur Ashe and Guillermo Vilas, Harold Solomon. I got yelled at by John McEnroe. And the highlight of my life was the 1978 final. I was at the net. This was a clay court when Jimmy Connors beat Eddie Dibbs 7-5, 7-5 to win the Evening Star tournament in 1978. I'll never forget it. But this tournament has touched me my whole life. After I was too big to be a ball kid, I drove players around. And then when I moved back to D.C., I joined the WTF board. And I have the box right over there. I come here every summer, and it's just been a huge part of my life from beginning to end, so it's really humbling to stand here today. Obviously, I have a huge love for this sport, not just what it's done for me, but what it can teach all of us. You know, when I was a ball kid, I probably had visions that I'd be like Denis and Francis and play in this, but those were shattered pretty early on by a lack of a lot of things, including ability. But fortunately, the things that I learned on the court and being around the sport taught me a ton of lessons that I've been able to use. And honestly, one of the reasons I can stand here today is because all the stuff I learned as a kid playing tennis and around the sport of tennis. And that experience is shared by so many people around the world, but particularly in our community. And when I was a kid, there were 48 WTA and ATP events in the United States. And that's really important because it gives kids a chance to come and, like Denis and Francis, to be inspired by the pros, to aspire to be them, just to be close to the sport. And today, there's only 12 ATP and WTA events. As the sport has become more global, these events are sought after all over the world, and they leave. Today, the Citi Open is the 5th biggest tennis tournament in the United States. It's one of only 5 events that men and women compete on together. After 50 years on the site, it is the longest running tennis tournament in the United States at the same site. More than 80,000 people come through here every year, and millions of people have come enjoy this event for 50 years. It's been woven into the fabric of our community as a mainstay of life across generations and people across the city and the regions. And that's why these events are jewels. They're also big economic drivers for the city and the community. And that's why these events are jewels and why people want them and why they have left. And once they leave, they never come back. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but thanks to a lot of people, we all wanted to make sure that this tournament didn't just leave here now, but that it's going to be here forever. So what does this mean? First of all, for WTF, which has been the owner of this event for the last 50 years, they deserve a huge amount of credit. Danny Waldman, who represents our boards over there, Manny Ortiz, their chair, couldn't be here, but he was intimately involved in this process, and Rebecca and their whole board. The truth is, they could have gotten more money to move this event somewhere else in the world, but they recognized how important this was, not just for them and the kids and the opportunities that they have, but also for our community. And they were a real partner in making sure that this event stayed here. Without their flexibility and their willingness to find a solution that worked for them and the foundation, but that also enabled the event to stay here, it wouldn't have. So on behalf of me and all the people who will enjoy this tournament forever, thank you to WTF and your leadership. And what's really exciting is that the capital that they will receive as the result of this, not just up front, but over many years to come, the commitments that we've made will allow them to significantly increase their endowment, better serve their mission, and serve more kids in the city. So I'm really excited that we could be a part of that. Talk about the fan experience a little bit. We have one of the best tennis communities in the United States of America. They have helped build this tournament, and they deserve the absolute best world-class event. So we want to make this place the place to be every one of those 9 days and nights in Washington at the end of July and August. In the immediate future, we're going to work on improving the food and beverage service. We're going to try to create new hospitality areas that everyone can enjoy. We're going to work on parking and rideshare logistics. We're going to add on-site entertainment and all kinds of fun activations that's going to make this an experience that people haven't seen in a long time. And we're going to keep it affordable. We're announcing today that we're not increasing ticket prices on season tickets this year. And one of the mainstays of the Kastles is we've always had tickets that everyone can afford, and I promise we will always do that here at the City Open. There is no tournament without players. One of the interesting things in the short amount of time since I've been involved is to learn how players all over the world love coming to DC, and they love this event. But there's a lot more we can do, so we're going to work really hard to make the player experience as good as it can be. We've already reached out to the players who are coming and asked them, what do you want to do in Washington? What restaurants do you want to eat at? What do you want to go see? So their experience while they're in our great city is as full as it can be. We're going to improve some of the facilities here, and we're going to make the experience while they're playing and practicing the event one of the best in the world. Our commitment to community, I think you guys know that our mainstay of the Kastles has been a commitment to the community, and that's going to continue here at the Kastles. Every match we give free tickets to kids' charities and military charities. We will do that again here. We've given out over 10,000 free tennis rackets over the years to any kid who needs them. We do clinics both during our event and around the year, and over the years we've spent over $2 million of donations to hundreds and hundreds of charities. We're going to take all those same programs and bring them here. Obviously, WTF has been and will continue to be a huge beneficiary, and going forward we're going to look to expand that to lots and lots of other organizations around the city. Lastly, this site. The reality is we have saved this tournament together with WTF and others for now, but to truly secure the long-term future of this event, we need to enhance the site. The ATP is going to require it, and we need the operational flexibility to make this the world-class event that it should be. We've talked to the Park Service. They understand and they're supportive. Everyone in the city also shares that vision. I'm confident that together as partners, we're going to be able to figure this out, and I'm looking forward to that journey and realizing that vision. Lastly, I would just say, as a local kid from down the street, everyone has my commitment that we will, and I will do everything in my power to make this the best, one of the best tennis events anywhere in the world, that will be enjoyed and be accessible to people from throughout the city, the region, the country, and around the world, people who come to one of the great cities in America, Washington, D.C. And last, I would just say that in closing, while we were trying to figure this out with Danny and Manny, there were a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of things that we had to solve for, and at times it looked like it might not be possible. But I know that the WTF and myself, when it happened, we really just thought about the millions of people who've come here, how much this has meant to all of us individually, but to so many people in our community for 50 years, and we all told ourselves, we can't let this leave. We have to keep it here. And it was a massive team effort. I'm really grateful for everyone who made that happen. And, you know, people always ask me, what's your greatest memory of Kastle seasons? And the truth is, it's not the championships, and it's not the winning streaks and the great victories. It's literally looking around the stadium, packed stadium, seeing parents and kids and work colleagues and friends, creating memories of a lifetime in the stadium, and I just can't wait to have that same experience here this summer and for many, many decades to come. So thank you all.
Extremely well said, Mark. First time the phrase mean streets of Chevy Chase has ever been uttered. But let's just roll with a little poetic license on that one. Fair enough. We have business leaders and politicians and benefactors and beneficiaries, but this tournament doesn't happen, nor does any tournament happen without the players. And so we want to just bring up a couple of guys who make this city and this area very proud. If you're a tennis fan, you know who they are. If you're not a tennis fan, you may not. But I will just briefly tell you that Denis Kudla, who's a native of Arlington, Virginia, has been top 50 in the world. He's been a United States Olympian and is a hard-working, talented young man. He's not the biggest guy you ever saw, but pound for pound is one of the great fighters on the ATP Tour at the moment. And the man sitting next to him, Frances Tiafoe, I think you may know his story a little bit better, a native of College Park, Maryland, a guy who got his first break with a wild card here as a teenager, has an incredibly compelling personal narrative that if you don't know, you ought to read about. He is a newfound Washington Capitals fan over the last couple of years. He made the quarterfinals here at the Citi Open last year, just made the quarterfinals in Miami last week. First time he's done that at a Masters 1000, big run in Australia. He has already made huge waves in this sport, and he's going to make even bigger ones. Would you welcome up both Denis Kudla and Frances Tiafoe? All right, fellas, you want to make a speech? That was a rhetorical question. They don't make speeches. Quick couple of questions. Frances, this is where you got your break. This is where you played as a pro for the first time. What does it mean to be back here, having accomplished what you've accomplished, knowing that you've got this amazing tournament here in your hometown?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Love it even more that I'm living in D.C. now. And
So go ahead, tell people where you moved.
To the Wharf. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Phase 2 underway even as we speak, right, Mayor? Okay, thank you.
But no, love it. And, I came into this tournament so young. I remember watching when I was 5, 6 years old and always telling my dad that I want to play in this tournament, hopefully have my name around the stadium one day, and hopefully Denis too, but hopefully I get mine first.
It doesn't seem as though you're as committed to Denis's name being around the Ring of Champions as you are to your own, but I think that's natural. Denis, what does this place mean to you as a guy who grew up in this area and now gets to play here as a professional?
Yeah, it's incredible. This tournament for me was always a dream to have my name as well up here. I always wanted to win this tournament more than I wanted to win the U.S. Open. To have Mark, keep this tournament here and want to improve it and inspire young kids is incredible. I remember coming here when I was 7 years old, 99, seeing Agassi, seeing Korecha. I got a shoe signed by Korecha, a shirt by Agassi, and I always wanted to be like them. And this place really inspired me to work hard, want to be these guys. And, last year I was able to make it to the quarterfinals and, kind of live my dream and want me to come back here and trying to win this tournament.
Frances, you had not won a match here at home until this past summer where you made a nice deep run. Did it make you nervous playing in front of the home fans, that you wanted to please them so much that you freaked out?
Yeah, you can definitely say that. It's definitely weird looking up and knowing every single person in the crowd. But yeah, no, it's an unbelievable tournament, unbelievable fans, friends, and, I hope, again, I can win this one day.
All right, last thing is, I know you're going to the Nats game tonight, and I think a lot of people here are looking for guidance as a Washingtonian, both of you. Will you or will you not boo Bryce Harper tonight?
What do you think, Denis?
I think I'm going to go with the boo.
Ladies and gentlemen, Washingtonians through and through. Let's hear it for Big Foe and Big Denis. Thanks, guys. Right, we can. It's Philly, we can boo. Mayor, do we have permission to boo? Yes. If I could invite Councilmember Todd up to make a couple of remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just thrilled to be here for the Citi Open press conference. I'm thrilled to be here with our wonderful mayor, with Mark Ein, with Rebecca, with the WTF, and with our friends from across the government and private community to talk about a very, very special partnership. Welcome to World 4, everybody. We have been the host of this tournament, as was said earlier, for over 50 years, and we want to make sure with Mark Ihn's help that we're here for the next 50 years right here at the Rock Creek Tennis Center. This tournament means a lot for our ward and, of course, for the entire District of Columbia. Neighbors in this community look forward to this tournament every year, at least most of them do. Certainly our small businesses look forward to the investment that we will see in their establishments, because people who come to this tournament, they go to Upper 14th Street, they go to Georgia Avenue, they go to even Chevy Chase to spend their hard-earned money. So I'm just really thrilled that we will have this tournament here again this year. And I want to express my appreciation to you, Mark, for your extraordinarily generous support to helping our mayor ensure that the District of Columbia can continue to be the sports capital of the world. So I look forward to seeing everybody here in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. I think it's been discussed how integral the history of the Washington Tennis Education Foundation has been, both as the steward of this tournament and the beneficiary of its profits. Would you please welcome Rebecca Crouch-Pelham to speak?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this chilly weather. I am Rebecca Crouch-Pelham, president of the Washington Tennis and Education Foundation. And I, of course, would like to start off by saying thank you to Mark for his commitment to tennis in D.C. And keeping the tournament in D.C., which has, of course, emboldened us to kind of expand our programs and provide more services to kids living all over the D.C. area. We provide a rare combination of tennis and education to kids living in underserved communities. Our organization just believes that all children, no matter the circumstance, deserve quality academic and after-school programming. So thank you, Mark. Thank you for keeping this tournament in D.C. so that our kids can come every summer and watch Tiafoe play, and look at the people who they look up to. The people they're watching on television are right here in their hometown, and they feel like it's their tournament, and we tell them that to make sure they work really hard on the tennis court. So WTEF will always be super grateful to Mark for making sure that this tournament is a DC staple. And I see Donald Dell over there, and of course we will always be grateful for Donald, who gave us the tournament 50 years ago. And in the last 50 years, that has been just a tremendous, tremendous impact, not just financially, but even the kind of optics of how it has encouraged our students and kids to propel for using tennis as a vehicle to pay for college, pay their way through their academic trajectory. This is a great year for the Washington Tennis and Education Foundation. This is a great day for us. I look forward to seeing all of you at the tournament this summer. There won't be any rain. I already talked to Mother Nature. So come out. It's a great tournament, great players, and a very awesome community event as well. So bring your children, bring your families, bring everyone. Thank you to everyone involved. Thank you to all of our board members that are here, of course. And thank you to everyone who made this possible. I actually am standing here thank you on behalf of our children and families. So thank you.
It's good to know that the tournament won't have rain this summer. I know that Mayor Bowser, if you're the one that's making that guarantee, the mayor of Miami would like to talk to you about what happened down there last week. They could have used your expertise, your meteorological influence. To have an event like this requires business leadership, it requires civic leadership, it requires political leadership and will, and it requires that the event fulfill many obligations, that it be a prestige event, which this certainly is, that it serves the entire community, which this event does, and we are very appreciative of the leadership of Mayor Muriel Bowser. Would you please welcome her to the podium?
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I am delighted to be here to offer my congratulations for this new partnership with Mark Ein and Washington Tennis and Education. So please give them another big round of applause. It is true that we feel very strongly about the investments we make here in the district to continue our reputation for being a sports capital. We tell them all the time in Florida, especially Miami, that we know how to do sporting events here in Washington, D.C. And over the last 4 years of my first term, we have really made good on a number of investments to tell world-class athletes like these gentlemen here that you can play, you can work, and you can have an outstanding experience in the District of Columbia. We spread that message not just for our professional sports, but we also spread it for our residents at large, and in making huge investments in our parks and recreation facilities and pools and trails, so that we are sending the very clear message to our residents that we want you to live long and healthy lives in Washington, D.C. and enjoy really world-class facilities from your neighborhood to your schools and to our professional sports facilities. I was honored to serve this ward as a council member for almost 8 years and know, as Councilmember Todd does, how proud neighbors are to be able to host world-class athletes right here. It takes a lot for the organizers to transform this facility into a little sports city. It takes the city a lot to make sure that we can accommodate so many visitors and people still get to their houses and businesses nearby. And I think we can all say how proud we are that the young people get the really significant benefit of this investment, not just during the tournament, but year-round. So I am very happy to be here today, and I'm glad to learn that it won't rain, and you will be glad to know that it won't be 40 degrees. And we're going to fill this stadium and enjoy world-class tennis. So count on the city to work with you every step of the way. Certainly, we look across all 8 wards of Washington to see where we need investments and where we have gaps and how we can prioritize those investments. And I know that you will continue to help us do that. Thank you very much.
The mayor has graciously agreed to take questions from the media if there are any, so I will step aside and let her do it.
Yes, somehow I thought you would. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm wondering your thoughts, as a young kid growing up here, as you said, seeing the games here, what the importance is to you, knowing that you're going to play at a tournament here, and the unique nature where it's played at a public park, and that the benefits go to help underprivileged kids who otherwise wouldn't be exposed to tennis, possibly, without the funds from an event like this. What is that? I know you want to win and have your name up here, but what does that aspect of this tournament mean to you?
Great question. No, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, ultimately. To have young guys have the chance to see, professional athletes do their thing and hopefully have the dreams of doing that one day. That's what I play for, inspiring children. Obviously, preferably for me, a ton of more black people to play tennis. That's my goal ultimately, and that's what I work towards every day, and hopefully I can keep doing that.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on your thoughts and hopes of improving the stadium itself. There have been players who have played here who have complained about the court itself not being their favorite court to play on. How do we've seen this problem with the National Park Service before at other locations in the area where, everybody wants to fix the tennis court, everybody wants to fix the facilities, but bridging that gap between getting it done and the federal entities, and Muriel Bowser is aware of this. How do you do that, and what is your plan to really improve the facility here?
Well, I think one of those players who complained, that was like the jinx that sent their ranking plummeting. So hopefully no one else is gonna. Hopefully that's a good lesson to future players, not to to complain. No, but look, it's a good question. We think that this event across the board can be elevated to a completely different level, and we need to touch everything. We need to touch the food and the parking and the grounds and the stadium. And I will just tell you, in the short amount of time that I've been engaged in this and talking to the people who touch this, the suppliers, the concessionaires, the city, National Park Service, I really do believe everyone shares the goal of turning this into a world-class event in a world-class facility. And everyone is working towards that goal. Sometimes I do think a fresh investment, a fresh perspective, new people can change the way things have been. I think the team in the office would say that there's a lot of intensity on the efforts on everything we're doing. And I really do believe, from everything I've seen in the short amount of time we've involved in the conversation I've had, that we're going to be able to figure out a way to make that happen.
Well, sure, and I'm going to ask the foundation to also address this question. And I know the council member, for one, is very involved in making sure that the surrounding Ward 4 communities are invited. The tournament always makes available some community activities. I think there's traditionally been a Kids Day where they focus on young people and bringing them into the park to experience what's going on. Certainly they can see a lot here on center stage, but center court, but there's also quite a lot that surrounds the court that they can experience as well. So I ask specifically.
I'll take a stab at that as well. Last year, we actually received that feedback from Councilman Todd's office. So we did a very kind of strategic effort to not only diversify the crowd as it relates to age, but also as it relates to different cultural backgrounds and different places in D.C. So we had a Divine Nine night where we invited all of the African American sororities and fraternities to come for free. We had nights for like 40 and under, and kind of just expanding our outreach to the PG County community, the Virginia community, so that more diverse groups knew that we were here, and offered them an opportunity to come for free so that the next day they came, they would pay. So this year, we again will make sure that we are paying close attention to making sure our crowd is diverse and is more representative of the DC community.
Yep. Come again? There was a tweet from one of my accounts that I didn't approve of, so it was deleted. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Can I just, on the community accessibility, that really has been a hallmark of the Castles. We sell out a lot of matches, and no matter, even if the match is totally sold out, we've always given 100 to 200 free tickets to kids groups and youth and military charities, and we're going to do the same thing here as well. So I know that's important to the city, and it's important to WTF, and we're really looking forward to partnering them with all that shared mindset. Yeah. I think it's one of the great things about this event. You know, the player is there, the stadium's there, and you guys, that's good, right? Yeah, it's great. They like it. They like it. No, I think that's one of the great things about the event. And look, you heard Denis talk about watching Andre and Karecha play and getting signed shirts. I mean, that's what it's all about. I had the same experience. I didn't end up like these guys, but I wanted to be, but that's what it's all about, is that accessibility and being able to get that close to the best in the world and be inspired.
I think you and the
I'll let Mark answer how many other offers we received because I don't want to mess up the number. But I can answer why we chose Mark's offer. Coming from the Washington Tennis and Education Foundation perspective, it was very important to us that the tournament stayed in D.C. We, of course, have been in this location for 50 years. Our children depend on the visibility of the tournament, the commercials. Our organization really is on a larger platform because of this tournament. And as a beneficiary, that, of course, brings proceeds to our organization and allows us to kind of have a stable financial foundation to provide more programming to children. So Mark's offer was almost a no-brainer. Being able to partner with someone as talented as Mark, keeping the tournament in D.C., keeping it at the stadium, and keeping it right here in the community was very important to us, which is why his offer, even though others might have offered us more, what we gain from partnering with Mark is way more valuable, sort of, than the other offers. We actually considered all of them. I think that what Mark brings to the table with keeping the tournament here in D.C. And the partnership, and of course we know Mark very well, it was just kind of, it was a no-brainer for us once we considered all of the offers. And I think the D.C. community was, and our children are going to be better off because of that decision. There are no regrets from our team. We actually think partnering with Mark, keeping the tournament in D.C. was the best decision we could have made.
Well, they usually don't tell the guy bidding how many other people there are, but, or sometimes they do to get you to bid more, all of which is true. But I've heard the rumors. I think there were at least 3 others, and you just have to look at what's happened in tennis around the globe. It's not, tennis in America is great. It's just, it's exploded around the world. These tournaments mean a lot to communities, to local economies, and so people want them. So I think you had people from Asia, Europe, the United States, Latin America, all of them wanted it. Ben? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a real issue. I was on the USTA board for the last 6 years, and this was one of the things that I was most focused on, is not losing it. I mean, if you want to inspire the future Frances Tiafoes and Denis Kudlas, there's nothing like having them able to come here. And most of the major sports are in, all the major sports are in 30 U.S. markets for 4 to 6 months, and tennis is in fewer places. And if you can't travel, you don't get that experience that we heard them talk about. And so to me, I love the sport. I think it's a sport of a lifetime because you learn so much on the court. And I want kids around America to be passionate about it and play it. And I just don't believe you're going to be as successful at that if you don't have pro events, a vibrant pro ecosystem. And fortunately, there's a set of people now who have stepped up around America. I mean, Larry Ellison bought Indian Wells and has done an amazing job. Steve Ross just did Miami. There's a guy in Charleston, which is happening now. So you see local business people and entrepreneurs who care about their communities and care about the sport do what's happening here. And I think as long as that keeps happening, I think we will stop the loss, and hopefully we'll be able to start to build back up, but that takes a long time because they don't come up very often. That's it. Just one thing I forgot to mention, sorry, is just I also want to, Citi's not here, but as part of this, Citi has agreed to extend their partnership for a year, which is great. They're deeply committed to WTF, the community mission that the tournament represents, from literally the CEO on down, because I've talked to them all. This event really means a lot to them, so they extended that for a year. The Tennis Channel, we extended the deal for 5 years, and that was really important because that's really great, yeah. But what's important about that is they literally covered this like a grand slam, from first ball to last ball, 160 hours of coverage. It's one of their signature events, and not only does it highlight the tournament, but it highlights DC to a global audience. So that's really important. And we're in the final stages of closing, hopefully re-entering the U.S. Open Series, which is a series of U.S. events leading up to the U.S. Open. The tournament left in 2014. And I think it's really important, and the USTA also would like it for us to be part of that again. We think that's good, and we think that's going to happen. So all of that's already happened in a short amount of time. Stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming before August. And thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it.